Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Harrisburg City Council Legislative Session. Today is Tuesday, January 14, 2020. And by the way, Happy New Year to all of our residents. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Ms. Houston, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett?
Present.
Ms. Bowers?
Present.
Ms. Daniels?
Here.
Ms. Green?
Present.
Mr. Madsen?
Here.
Mr. Majors?
Here.
President Williams?
Here. Thank you. Could you please silence your phone? Okay, moving on to the invocation. Mr. Allett, please.
Thank you. Just take a few minutes. I want to recognize James Hilden, a 28-year city employee from Traffic and Engineering who recently passed. Also want to take a few minutes to remember Tom Goldsmith, former mayor of Easton, and a past board president of the PA Municipal League. So if we could just take a few minutes in silence and recognize them, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allett. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Green.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Moving on to communications. Tonight, we don't have any. And moving on to courtesy of the floor. At this time, anyone who would like to come to the mic, please do so to my right.
Good evening. Brian Humphrey from Summit Terrace Neighborhood Association. I don't know if any of y'all know, but we have a war zone in our community. On my street, which is Summit Street, 6 cars were shot up this weekend, Friday. All right, some of the elderly people said they made calls. 1 o'clock the next day, we have police officers picking up bullets, shell casings. My house was hit, all right, so this is serious. My house, 6 cars, my whole block was affected, all right? 6 cars, every house on my street was shot up, all right? Windows shot through. They come back Saturday night, shooting, Sunday night, shooting again. This time the people they're after, they shoot through their house, right through their window. Other neighbors' houses are shot. We need something done in my community. It's filthy. We need houses tore down. We need Market Street cleaned up. Look next to Hess. All right? It's called the health and safety of the communities. All right? The communities in this area are filthy. Walk up and down Market Street and look. Tires all over the place. Who cleans the steps going from Bailey down to Market Street? Who cleans up in the communities? We have a house falling down right now. All right? There's no safety. We got to run in and out of our houses. All right? The elderly people. All right? The safety of my community. 6 cars shot up, 6 residents. My house, 3 or 4 other houses hit with bullets, riddled with bullets. Wow. Over 40 bullets or something. Can't even leave my grandkids or people go in their houses no more. We're running into our houses now. All right, we're not walking into our houses in my community. We're running in our houses. Mayor, we're running in our houses on my street, Summit Street. And I'm not sitting around no more and not being vocal, all right? I'm coming to speak up for my elderly people in my community. Come out to our meeting, any of y'all. Our meetings are every first Monday of the month, 1226 Bailey Street. We would like to talk to y'all, all right? 6 cars in 2 days, shot up, riddled with bullets. Anybody in the cars, they're dead. 3 and 4. I commend your police officers because they came, they went in the houses, and they did their job. But something else has to be done. Your police officers, whoever the female was that came out Saturday, she was great. She said she's going to help us. Okay. We gave her the address. We're not here to complain about the police because they did their job. We're here to complain about the safety of our community. Something has to be done. These are elderly people. They're running in and out of their house. Now, some of them don't. One lady, she got a handicapped kid that she carries out of her car every day. Every day, she picks her up and carries out of her car. Window shot out, back window shot out. 6 cars, 2 days, Friday, night, 10 o'clock, come back Sunday night, 11 o'clock, shootings again. This is terrible. Something's got to be done. This isn't the first time. A couple months ago, look at your records, the same people, other houses shot up. Some of your employees, their kids are in bed. Bullets come through their windows and go above their head. Young kids, people with babies ducking on the floor. My wife falling out of bed. Codes. There's a barber shop. 1200 block of Warner. Open illegal. Market Street, the Puerto Rican barber shop, the old Boost Mobile, open illegal. All they do is they open them up and they figure nobody's going to come and check them. And they just, it's open now. So there's nothing. We live in a historic district. There's a plan of when you come to our community of opening a business. You just don't open a business without asking, because we have a historic district. So usually, the old days, before you came, you would have to come to planning, and they would approve it or not, and we would come to the hearings and say if we want it or not in our communities. It doesn't happen like that no more. Our community is trashed. There's trash all over. There's tires all over. Who's cleaning up the alleys? If you want me to, I'll go and get work release in my van and bring them to clean up the city. If nobody else wants to do it, because that's what needs to be done like I used to do years ago. All right, go to work release. Go to the people down there in the work release center who's tearing up hats and sitting over there all day doing drugs. Look at the place next to there now. Whoever owns that lot, make them clean it up and get them out of there. The hills falling down from up in our community over to Market Street. Nothing has been done. There's nothing being done for our community, and I'm coming to speak up now, all right, because it's not safe. I can't even go home right now and not worrying about being shot, all right? I can't even go home right now and not worried about being shot, or my family. And I'm not going to take it, and my community's not going to take it. It's a disgrace to everybody sitting here. All right, know what's going on in the community. Get out there and walk. There's an election next year. Remember that, all right? There's an election coming up, and I'm not going to be quiet, all right? And I will go and knock on thousands and thousands of doors and let the elderly know, because my elderly's upset. And I told them I would come and speak for them tonight. But we're going to remember, all right, we're going to remember who helps us and who doesn't. Every year, people want us to help them to get elected, but once you get elected, you don't even come and see you no more. All right, that's got to stop. Get out in the communities, see what's going on. Allison Hill's terrible. There's gunfire on Market Street during the day. People running, ducking. Now it's affected me because my house was hit. A couple more inches, it could have came through my front window. My grandkids sitting there watching TV. Then what? Then we got to pay for a funeral, and then what? Ain't nobody here going to help me with nothing. Because they haven't been helping us. Thank you, Madam President.
You are so welcome, and thank you for enlightening us to what's happening. I will speak to Commissioner as well with our Public Safety Chair, Ms. Green, and we'll find out what's going on and what they intend on doing. I am sorry that happened to you. I certainly did not know about that.
It's a war zone.
Okay.
And this isn't the first time. This is like the third time. I told the police the address and everything. I'm not scared.
And what's the address? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What's the address for the meeting, where your meeting?
1226 Bailey Street. But somebody's going to get killed at innocent bystander, and that's my whole work. People just coming home, getting out their cars, they got to run this shit. Gunfire in a lot, 40 caliber, not no little gun. This is a big gun.
Ms. Green, you want to say anything?
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I'll make sure we follow up with it. I will try to attend one of your meetings. What time is the meeting? I know you gave the location.
It's usually 6:30, 1226 Bailey Street.
Thank you.
But we'll certainly,
Every month.
but we'll certainly address the incident that you spoke of on Friday and Saturday with Commissioner Carter, find out what we can do. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I want to say Happy New Year. I feel for you. I stood up here before City Council when they were discussing riot gear. I was up on 4th Street where somebody let off 9 bullets and I almost got hit. And so I know how you feel. I'm on your side with that. Anyhow, greetings to all honorable members of Harrisburg City Council. As you know, I like to read, so so I don't forget. And I will say Happy New Year again. And wow, his story brought back some memories to me, kind of. Yeah, very
Sir,
serious.
we
Anyway,
all
my
know
name
that-
is Khaldun Rashid, and I reside in the 1400 block of North 4th Street, and I'm an advocate for the homeless. This year, I attended the Pennsylvania State Farm Show every day, and I had a great time. I participated in many of the question-answer games, and I took pictures with animals and enjoyed conversations with the vendors and really learned a lot about agriculture and its benefits to all of us here in the city of Harrisburg. Prior to this, I visited Berks County, and I got involved with the latest debates on rebuilding a railroad service in Reading, Pennsylvania. And there was a high interest in reestablishing an Amtrak, Scepter, or other rail car commuter service, which has sparked public meetings with officials who may one day desire to have commuter train service between Harrisburg and Reading. Government officials are now reaching out to make this vision, which Harrisburg could benefit from, a reality. On April 18, 2018, Pennsylvania State Department of Health Secretary Dr. Raquel Levine updated a standing executive order known as Act 139, 2014, which provides that if you believe someone is experiencing opioid overdose, to call 911 and remain with the person until first responders arrive. Act 139 provides that you will not be arrested or charged with parole violations or drug offenses if you call 911, provide all necessary information, and remain with the person in distress. On June 1st, 2019, I witnessed the death of an opioid overdose victim here in Harrisburg. Before his death, I witnessed him being dragged by a third party, which caused me to take action in dialing 911 and attempting to revive the victim. Act 139, 2014 protected me, and unfortunately, the person who sold or administered the lethal dose of the controlled substance wasn't arrested. This same individual is now in prison after fleeing the county. I personally witnessed his arrest by Lancaster City Police and doubt we will ever see him in our great city ever again. I'd like to briefly mention the article in this month's Third in the Berg on the city's balancing of the budget. It made me really feel good to read and see things are finally shaping up. I'm proud of all of you. I support the police force increase to 143 officers and the $49,000 a year salary. I'm also in favor of an increase in salary for our city's distinguished fire department. They're the best. At the state capitol is a rumor that a student loan forgiveness bill is about to be introduced. The rumor is true. A 3-year pilot bill is currently being reviewed, and I'm watching it. Finally, the asbestos program that the city has needs to be, in my opinion, kept an eye on, because legislative officials up here at the Capitol are angry at the governor that they're not getting funding to get rid of asbestos in Philly, and it isn't happening for them. And finally, former Harrisburg City Council member Patty Kim, who is now our state representative, has been working hard to raise the minimum wage in Pennsylvania, which includes our great city. Opponents against it are coming at it from out of the Frederick W. Anton III Center under State Legislative Director Rebecca K. Euler, claiming to me, and I talked to her, that inexperienced workers will never get hired if minimum wage goes up. Experience comes better with on-the-job training, was my response. Many of our homeless in the city now are finding jobs as we see a rise in employment opportunities in our city and beyond. On behalf of all of the homeless, we thank you and the city's continued support in its humanitarian efforts to provoke life status change. And last but not least, this year's VFW Homeless Veteran Stand Down will be from February 21st, which is a Friday, to Sunday, February 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else to my right? Anyone in the middle, please? Anyone to my left? Thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes. Approval of the legislative session minutes of December 17th, 2019. Council members, any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, minutes will stand approved. Moving on to reports of committees, we have none this evening. Before we move on for ordinance for first reading, I would ask Mr. Woolery to come up, please, to give us a short update on CDBG. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. I know that there's been some concern about the allocation of the subrecipient funds for CDGB. Wanted council and the public to know that the reason for this is that we had to revamp the whole system. We had gotten some correspondence from HUD saying that they were concerned about the compliance efforts, and so we had to revamp and make sure that the application process comported to the regulations, and that we had, when we did so, we had meetings with potential subrecipients. I think we had 2 meetings to explain the new process. Then we had some staff changes, and so I'm happy to say that we've reached a point now where we've reviewed all the applications. Final, and we should be prepared by the end of this week or beginning of next week to send out the letters and contact subrecipients about their funding request and what we were able to do. So right now, we're just in a place where we have to make sure that we're doing things the right way, and that we're able to support one, the process, the application process, and then make sure on the back end that we're able to have some compliance guidelines for the subrecipients. We're gonna once we notify them of their awards, we're gonna have to enter into some contractual arrangements with them, and then also let them know that there's going to be quarterly reporting, and that they're going to have some objective measures to meet. So we'll be able to do that end of this week, beginning of next week.
Okay. So we should have something next week to look at when we come back here for a work session?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I thank you. Moving on to ordinance for first reading, Bill 1 of 2020. Ms. Houston, please read it into record.
No?
I asked you if you had any questions. You may want to speak to him. Off record. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance for first reading, Bill 1 of 2020. Ms. Houston, please read it into record.
Yes. Bill 1 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Mattson and seconded by Ms. Green. It is an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg various unnamed paper streets within the block bound by Harris Street, North 7th Street, Boyd Street, and Wallace Street, Boyd Street between Wallace Street and North 7th Street, and Cowden Street between Boyd Street and Riley Street pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Harrisburg.
Thank you. That would go into Community and Economic Development Committee. Bill 2 of 2020.
Bill 2 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Mattson and seconded by Ms. Green. It is an ordinance amending the City of Harrisburg's official traffic control map pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the Codified Ordinances by converting Hamilton Street and Harris Street from one-way to two-way operations between North 6th Street and North 7th Street, and converting Clinton Street from one-way eastbound to one-way westbound between Wallace Street and North 7th Street.
That also will be placed in Community and Economic Development Committee. Bill 3 of 2020.
Bill 3 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Mattson and seconded by Ms. Green. It is an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg, Mini Alley within the block bounded by Moltke Alley and Wallace Street, and Moltke Alley within the block bounded McClay Street and Peffer Street pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the Codified Ordinances of the city of Harrisburg.
That also will be placed in the Community Economic Development Committee. Moving on to ordinance for amendment, we have none this evening. And then moving on to ordinance for final passage, we have none as well. Moving on to resolutions, Resolution 1 of 2020. Ms. Houston.
Resolution 1 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Mattson and seconded by Ms. Green. It is a resolution approving the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan submitted by Brad Jones, President of South Second Associates, LLC, to convert an existing office building located at 17 South Second Street into a residential apartment building with retail restaurant space on the first floor.
That also will be placed in Community Economic Development. Moving on to Resolution 2 of 2020.
Resolution 2 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Allett and seconded by President Williams. It is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to enter into a professional service contract with Maverick Strategies for strategic guidance and intelligence gathering for lobbying-related services.
That will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 3 of 2020.
Resolution 3 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Allett and seconded by President Williams. It is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Marathon Capital Strategies, LLC, for the purpose of providing financial advisory services to the city.
That will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 4 of 2020.
Resolution 4 of 2020 was moved by Mr. Allett and seconded by President Williams. It is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Boyer and Ritter, LLC, to perform an audit for the city for the year ending December 31st, 2019.
That also will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 5 of 2020.
Resolution 5 of 2020 was moved by Ms. Bowers and seconded by Mr. Mattson. It is a resolution ratifying a disaster recovery service agreement entered into between the City of Harrisburg and Bayer Consulting Incorporated.
That will be placed in Building and Housing Committee. Moving on to Resolution 6 of 2020.
Resolution 6 of 2020 was moved by Ms. Bowers and seconded by Mr. Mattson. It is a resolution ratifying a payment of $9,375 to Bayer Consulting Incorporated for emergency IT services.
That also will be placed in Building and Housing Committee. Moving on to old business, council members. Is there any old business this evening? Mr. Allett? No. Okay. Moving on to new business. Is there any new business, council members?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that Startup Harrisburg is hosting their free co-working week this week, January 13th through the 17th. I wanted to especially make note of a lunch and learn that will take place on Thursday, January 16th from 11:30 to 1. It's geared towards starting a business in Harrisburg. Jamal Jones and Michael Hughes of the City of Harrisburg will be present to share with attendees the basics of doing business with the city. So that is Thursday, January 16th from 11:30 to 1 at Startup Harrisburg, located at 922 North 3rd Street. The second note is for the Central Pennsylvania MLK Day of Service, which will be held on Monday, January 20th, 2020. The host location this year is Commonwealth Charter Academy, located at 1 Innovation Way. The opening ceremony will begin at 9 a.m. and volunteer activities will be held from 9:30 to 1. It's not too late to sign up. Please visit www.centralpamlkday.org. Commonwealth Charter Academy is the host location, but there are other volunteer opportunities throughout the city. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bowers. Anyone else? Okay, there's no other new business. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Meeting is officially adjourned.